antibodies, reaction failed to take place. Reaction failed to take place. And therefore, the result will show as non-reactive. So you must consider these things. Unless there's a strong suspicion that you're dealing with a case that is late latent. If it's a late latent, then you yourself will be aware that you may be dealing with false negatives. So how will you deal with this? If you have a description or a clinical history saying that this is a late latent syphilis patient, and you are going to do VDRL or serology test on it, what precaution will you take? Anybody who can give me this one with the correct answer, you got bonus of 5 points. You have a known case of late latent syphilis patient. You are going to do RPR or VDRL. Knowing the probability of proson phenomenon in such a patient, what will you do?
Hello, sir. You need to increase more.
False negatives as a result of proson phenomenon. How will you correct it? How will you deal with it in your lab?
The volume of the sample needs to be more than that of the reagent, sir.
Okay, so the way of dealing with proson is that we are saying that you have too many other antibodies. So what will you do? You dilute. Once you dilute the system, you are adding a diluent or a diluent. Either it could even be just the still water or the saline. Once you dilute, what happens is that you are reducing the quantity of antibodies that are in there. Somebody has an answer, let me see. No, increase more the sample, no. You are rather going to dilute the sample. All right. So if you use the raw sample, which you call neat sample, any undiluted sample is called neat sample. So you can have neat serum, you can have neat plasma, you can have even neat urine. If you are dealing with urine and you are using the urine raw for whatever reaction, it's called a neat sample. Right. So if you are using the neat sample and there is too much antibodies in it, the reaction will show negative. And the explanation to that is due to the proson phenomenon or proson effect. In proson effect, too much antibodies chasing fewer antibodies, all right, will result in a negative reaction. That is a simple way of explaining proson effect. The way to correct proson effect is through dilution. When you dilute, what it means is that you are now bringing down the number of the antibodies to lower quantities, and therefore the reaction can take place. So that is all. In any situation where proson effect has been described, if they ask you to find a way of resolving it, then it's through dilution. That's all. Now, sometimes proson effect is not usually as a result of increased numbers of the antibodies. Sometimes it could even be interference substances. You know that when you have interference substances in a reaction, now those interference, of course, you know interference substances, they are going to interfere with the reaction. And so also, even though the real or the target antibodies are there, the interference substances are blocking the reaction, and therefore you also have no reaction results, and therefore the proson phenomenon will have taken place. In that case too, answer to that is through dilution. If you dilute, reducing the interference substances are going to wash away, and then the actual what do you call it, parameters, and for that matter, the antibodies will now have the opportunity to react. So protein effect, whether as a result of interference substances or as a result of high numbers of the antibodies, they are all resolved through dilution. I hope the point is clear. The RPR is reactive, a quantitative titer, and syphilis. RPR will be performed. Danny, come again. I don't seem to understand this thing. If the RPR is reactive, a quantitative titer, and syphilis RPR will perform. Well, if RPR is reactive, now remember that you are running a laboratory and it goes with, there's some economics to it. So I'm not saying that if RPR is positive, go ahead and then do your syphilis. Who pays for it? Meanwhile, the doctor has not requested for it. So you all that things that you are doing, you have to balance it against the realities. So a doctor has come to request for VDRL, and you have done the RPR. The RPR is representing the VDRL. That one, no two ways about it. And then it is reactive, and for that matter, positive. You don't go ahead and do the listen unless the patient, unless your lab is running at I don't know. Well, unless you don't, you are not going to make profits, or you are not going to be accountable for the things that you put in. So please don't just say that, oh, whenever I do this one, it's positive, I'm going to do this one. If you do that, who pays for it? Remember, we said that, and we are going to go to that again. When it comes to the reverse algorithm, that one, if you did the how do you call it? If you did your first test, you use the Treponema method, and for that matter, you did the RT. If it is positive, that one, nobody asks you to do that one first. You are doing it to save cost or whatever. That one, when you are going to do the reverse algorithm, that one, you don't ask the patient to pay for it, because the patient did not come in to do the TP test. He came in to do the VDRL. You decided to do the TP test. And so if by your new principle, you are going to do the reverse algorithm, the patient don't have to pay for that. And we are going to consider what factors to consider whether to do the reverse algorithm or to do the traditional algorithm. You have added something to today's discussion on that. So all I'm saying is that there are situations where there can be false negatives. And one of the major causes of proton, so of the false negative, could be proton phenomena or proton effect. And in proton effect, we are saying that there are more antibodies than expected. And our answer to that is to dilute. We have also said that proton effect is not always necessarily due to increased number of antibodies, but it could also be as a result of interference substances. Whether it's interference substances or increased numbers of the antibodies, dilution will resolve proton phenomena. All right. So now the algorithms. So we say algorithms are just nothing but the sequence or the stepwise approach in doing this. So your algorithm is step-by-step means of doing things. That's all. whenever there's an algorithm that is stepwise or sequential approaches to doing whatever you want to do. Okay, so that's algorithm. When it comes to syphilis, there are two algorithms. And the one is the traditional algorithm, and then the other one is the reverse algorithm. Right. So that is the thing to take note, that there are two algorithms. Either you go by the traditional way or the reverse. And I'm sure the traditional way is that you do a screening test. And if your screening test shows positive, you go and do the confirmation. That's why I say traditional. That's the conventional. Traditional and conventional, they are the same thing. So when you say the traditional, that's what has always been the case. That's the traditional. An algorithm is the, like I said, the sequence of doing your things. So all this while, the diagnosis of syphilis are always be a screening test first. And when your screening test shows positive, you go ahead and do your confirmation. That's all. That's all. And that is called traditional algorithm. Good. Now let's have some more talk on traditional algorithm. It is where a non-treponema, for that matter, RPR or VDR test is used as the initial screening test. Now, whenever a screening test is positive, a more specific, and for that matter, treponema test, which in this case, the TPHA, and now we are adding the RT. I'm sure RT, you know what it is. That's the rapid test, the strip test. Now it is no longer, I'm sure through this discussion, you know that it's no longer a VDRL, but rather a TPHA. Okay. Now, so where you should have done TPHA, you can do RT instead. Similarly, where you have to do VDRL, you can do RPR instead. Good. So for the traditional algorithm, you do your RPR first. And if it is positive, you go ahead and do the RT. All right. This is to confirm the test and also to rule out biological false positives, the BFPs. All right. In traditional algorithm, initial screening is performed with a non-treponema test followed by a treponema test. It's the same thing that we try to go around it in several ways so that you understand what is called traditional algorithm. So in traditional algorithm, you do the screening test. What is your screening test? The screening is the non-treponema test. What's the non-treponema test? The RPR or VDR. That is what you are going to use as your first line. And it is becoming your screening test. Now, once that one becomes positive, you have to do a confirmatory test. That's all. That's all about what we call traditional algorithm. Good. Now, what's the reverse? The reverse is the opposite of what the traditional is doing. The traditional is saying that do the non-treponema first, or for that matter, the non-specific one, do that one first as a screening test. If you do that one and it's positive, go and do your confirmation. That's the traditional. So reverse would be like, now instead of doing the treponema or confirmation as your second one, you are using the confirmation as your first line. Okay, use it as a first line. And once it is positive, you go back and do the screening one. That's all. So reverse, the word reverse should explain itself. So first and foremost, you must understand what is the traditional algorithm. Traditional is the screening one first, then the confirmation. Then reverse is the opposite. So you do the confirmation one first, and then you are also going to do the the non-specific one later on. Right. So In the reverse algorithm, a treponema test, example, the RDT, and the
Hello, sir.
RDT, yes, say the RT, the rapid diagnostic test or the rapid test, the same thing. It's used for the initial screening, and the reactive samples are retested with the non-treponema test. All right. Remember, we said that the treponema test, the RT, is generally not very useful for initial screening. Okay. We don't advise it to be used as a screening test, since a positive result failed to differentiate between active from the past treated syphilis. All right. So I think we have said this over and over again, and you understand that in using the treponema testing, and for that matter, the rapid test, if you use it as a screening test, it doesn't give you the difference between past infection and then an initial active infection. So with this one, I'm sure you can now, which algorithm to use for syphilis. You now know what they call the reverse, the algorithm, the traditional algorithm. So which one do you want to use in your lab? So I just say that 2 algorithms are currently recognized for diagnosis of syphilis. When I say they are recognized, it means that it is not wrong to use the reverse algorithm. That's what I'm saying. That both the 2 algorithms, the traditional one and then the reverse, they are all recognized for diagnosis of syphilis. So don't go and say, oh, now they say that, oh, we don't have to use the straight face. You can use it. It's a recognized algorithm. But the caveat is that once it is positive, don't go ahead and report as positive. You go back and do the RPR. If the RPR is positive, then it means that you can now confidently say that the test is positive. All right. Now, if you go back and do the RPR, it is negative, then of course it is an indication that it is a past treated infection, and the patient don't have to be exposed to another treatment. All right. Okay. So somebody is saying the advantages. So let's see. We can do a discussion on that one. So the use of traditional or reverse algorithms ultimately institution dependent. All right. So it depends on you, the individual, in your lab and your institution. So the use of traditional or reverse algorithms ultimately institution dependent. It's your own institution. So you can have 2 labs. One can decide to go the traditional way. Some will want to do the reverse. In each of them, there are pros and cons. Let's see how it works. And it is dependent based on patient population. How many cases are you getting for VDR a day? The test cost, how much does it cost? The volumes, and then your workflow. So you have to, like we're saying, that the decision to go traditional or reverse will depend on you. All right, you, the lab scientist, what you want to do for your institution or for your facility. But in doing so, in making the choice, you have to determine how many cases of VDRL are you even getting in a day? What's the cost for VDRL and so forth and so on. Now, so smaller laboratories with low test volume typically utilize the traditional algorithm. So you get a point. So if a small lab that doesn't do so much, it is advisable to use the traditional algorithm. So you do the screening. All right. You will do the screening one using the RPR. And It's negative. The syphilis test or the actual trichoderma test. So the recommendation here is that for smaller laboratories with low test volumes, with not too many cases a day, it is advisable to use the traditional algorithm. Now, why will some people still go by the reverse? Let's see. Right. So somebody is talking about what algorithm will also recommend for blood donor screening. Of course, here we're talking about large volumes. In blood donor screening, you see that it's going to be large. So for most non-trichoderma tests, remember I said most non-trichoderma tests, and remember the non-trichoderma tests you're talking about here is what the RPR. They are manual. Okay, even though they are simple to do, but they are still manual. So most laboratories have chosen to adopt the reverse algorithm based on the laboratory workflow and high volume. So wherever there's a high volume, all right, then people will want to choose to go by the reverse algorithm. I hope this one will feed into the blood donation listing. In blood donation, you cannot be going there and doing the traditional algorithm. So you do the reverse algorithm for blood donation because of the numbers. You're saying that wherever the numbers are more, it is recommended to go by the reverse algorithm. I hope the point is clear. Most non-trichoderma tests are manual assays. So most laboratories have chosen to adopt the reverse algorithm based on laboratory workflow and then the high volumes. So wherever there are high volumes, as opposed to where there are low test volumes, you may want to use the traditional. So wherever the volumes are more, you want to do the listen. I think that we can end here and probably now debate which way to go. The nucleic acid testing is usually for, I hope your NAT, you're talking about nucleic acid testing. Danny, are you talking about NAT acid? Oh, okay, nucleic acid testing. You see, it depends on the complexity of the lab and also availability of the necessary, what do you call it, logistics. So most times you are choosing a test. If you are choosing a test, you look at a whole lot of things. The complexity of the test, is it simple to perform? How available are the logistics and even the setup, the cost, and all those things might be taken into consideration. So for routine diagnostics, I will not recommend nucleic acid testing. That is if you ask me. If you have the facility, you have everything to do it, fine, I will not stop you. But then in that case, you mean that you are dealing with the specifics. Okay. And this one too is even more molecular. Apart from everything is molecular. And once it's molecular, still what do you call it? Specifics. When there are very simplified techniques of dealing with the specific or the trichoderma test, why will you go for NAT? Like I'm saying, if it is for research purposes, is for this thing. So you have to take a whole lot of things into consideration. Why a certain method you want to go by that method. How the point is clear. So if you have the facility, you have everything and the cost and everything, complexity of the test and all those things, you take all those things into consideration and then you want to do it. But if you ask me, I will not recommend it for teams in the lab. Right. So now the boy is in your court has to go by the traditional or the reverse. Depends on you. But you see, like I said, for the high volume workflows where there are too many cases coming in, you know that you have to also ensure that your turnaround time to is also very much acceptable. Yes, you don't necessarily delay patients. So if you take all this into consideration, now because the RT, the rapid test, is so rapid, of course, it makes the works easier. But you see, once one it is positive, then it's incumbent on you to go back and do that, to do the listing. So if you have a case where you have too many people coming in with past history of infections, okay, past history of infections, then you see that if you don't take care, you also run at a cost because you are going to now use your strips as your screening. And if you did, let's say, 10 cases, likely you can have 3 or 4 of them showing positive. If 3 of them show positive, you don't ask the patient to go and pay for the RPR that you're going to do. Okay, because the doctor just requests for VDR, you decided to do the TP. Okay, so if now you have seen that your TP is giving you positive, and it's incumbent on you to go and do the lesson, that one is at your cost. So you go back and do that test at no cost. However, if you do the traditional algorithm, you do the screening one first. Then you can recommend that, oh, this one, yeah, you recommend for specific tests or for confirmatory tests. Then the doctor will request for the TPHA and ask the patient to come and do it. That one, the patient will come back and do the TP and pay for it. That is, so you look at all these dynamics and see which one will benefit you. Which one will benefit you? I don't know whether I've made my point. So you have to now, like I said, I'm going to make available the contact person for the RPR. You can begin to talk to that lady and show interest that you want to introduce RPR in your facility. If for nothing at all, students may come to your lab because all across the country, almost everybody is doing the rapid test for VDRA. Almost everybody is doing it for. So with this new knowledge, and you want to now do RPR as a reverse algorithm, that will be fantastic. People will come in to your lab, then you also take them through. And so this is the way to go. This is the concept that if you do the, especially for us to know that the rapid test that we are doing is an immunoenzyme technology based on immunochromatography. And all of us know that EI is that immunoenzyme assays are all specifics. And so how come that the RT, the rapid test, how will it become VDRA? It cannot become VDRA. It is specific. And so for the traditional algorithm, you are supposed to do the non-specific one first. And if it is positive, you go and do the specific. Now, if you are doing the specific as per the RT, then if it is positive, go back and do the RPR. And this principle is called reverse algorithm. This, we must be able to teach this one to our new students and let everybody be aware about it. All right. And as to whether your facility is now going to choose the traditional algorithm or the reverse algorithm, that one is based on you. You must make that your own assessment. You have the, the numbers that are coming in. If I'm going to do the RPR and they are not going to, if the cost of the RPR is not too much, because just look, it's just a drop of the suspension and then a drop of your blood, or sorry, of your plasma, which you are going to use. Okay, so one bottle of the kit can run more than, let's say, even 200 cases. More than that. It can run, because even if it is 10 mils, if it's 10 mils, remember, you need just 50 microliters. So if you do the calculations, you see that 10 mils can give you so much cases. And so if you have to do the mathematics of it, where if your RPR is positive, you can now, and even the quantitation, it should be part of your lesson. You can now say that, okay, RPR, strongly reactive. You can now make a recommend quantification. Then the doctor, these are the things that the doctors will now see that, oh, the lab people, I think now they are showing magnificent knowledge in their area. So you do RPR and then you report strongly reactive. And then you write recommend quantification. Which doctor will not appreciate you? So now the patient will not come in, then you come do the quantification, then the patient will pay for it. You pay for it. And then once the qualification has done it, then you can now recommend for confirmation test. Okay, so the patient is also going to pay for the, and now the confirmation test is just the RT. You are going to just use the rapid kit for, and that is going to represent your TPHA. Okay, the doctors know about TPHA. They know about TPHA. Okay, so, and you now know that the TPHA is also equivalent to the rapid test, while the RPR is also equivalent to the VDRL. So now it means that we are making good use of knowledge. And you see that the doctors will appreciate the recommendations that we make for them. Thank you so much. So this is what we have to add value to ourselves. All right. So it is not going to be an extra work, no at all. Not extra work. Just the fact that now you know that there's RPR. RPR, the doctors will always be writing VDRL. That's all they do. But like I've said over and over again, whether to do the traditional algorithm where you do your RPR first, when it is positive, you do this. When I say you do this one, that doesn't mean that you should do it at the same time. Oh. No. I'm not saying that you do the VDRL or RPR is positive, then you go ahead. No. That's where, if you like, you can keep the serum, now the plasma, because you know that you have made a recommendation to the doctor that, oh, it was strongly positive. You recommend quantification. 2, you recommend what do you call it? Confirmation test. In this case, you know that the patient will, the arm is based on the recommendation that you have made. The doctor will come back. Meanwhile, you have kept the patient's plasma. All right. So when the patient comes, no, you may not even need to. But if you don't take the sample, the patient, you have to explain to the patient why you don't take the sample. Otherwise, oh, I went for the second time. They didn't even take my sample. You took my money. You didn't even do the test. They say, oh, based on your first test, that's why I made this recommendation for that. So you have your sample already kept there, and we are going to spare you the discomfort of another prick. So you don't tell if you don't say anything to the patient, then you say that, oh, the doctor say come and do this one. The patient himself knows that he has come to pay a second amount, and you didn't tell him or her anything. You have taken his or her money. I think you go back and say that you didn't even do the test, because when you came, you didn't take any sample. All right. So you have to be very, very clever. And then if for nothing at all, especially those that have strongly reactive cases, you can do the titration. All right. And then next time, if the same patient come again, you can do another titration just for for scientific education of yourself and your colleagues. Oh, this patient, when he came for the first time, it was positive. We did a titration, it was 1 in 128. Now, so 6 months again, he has come again. Maybe another doctor saw him or her. You also do it is still positive, but this time this is even weakly reactive. When it's weakly reactive, it tells you that the patient's management or treatment has been good. You see, so we have to add value to ourselves and then also make an impact in the minds of our clinicians. And then now they will respect all of us. They know that a lot of people, we are scientists. We are scientists and we know what we are doing. Once again, thank you so much. I think this is the first time we are making a repeat of, it's like a repeat of what we did yesterday. But of course, I recognize that there are some few things have been added. All right. Of course, somebody's asking whether you get a slide. Why not? You will get your slides. You get a slides, please. You get them. You get your slides, okay? I'm sure you all know how to do the quantification. Is there anyone, if you have the, please, you cannot do quantification with the RT, and for that matter, the Treponema test, whether TPHA or this thing, because it has no clinical significance. Okay, because if you do it, it's not going to go high, it's not going to come down to make any clinical meaning. So you don't need it. What to make meaning is the non-Treponema antibodies, which is the one which you use the RPR for. That one, it can go up and down, and therefore it makes clinical, there's a justification for doing it. All right. And I'm saying that the approach to getting the quantification, I don't know, is there anybody who cannot do quantification? Is there anybody who has a challenge of, if you do your VDR and for that matter RPR, it is positive, you want to do quantification, and the quantification result is what we call a titer. If you want to get your titer, I hope you can all do it. All right. Okay, thank you, Dan. Thank you. All right. So on that note, we bring today's session to another close. And unfortunately, tomorrow we are not meeting for obvious reasons. Tomorrow we are not meeting, funerals and so many things. And I'm sorry. So we will continue from next week, of course, Thursday. And in the course of this, you are going to get the slides. Remember, the slides are usually sent to you through your emails. And we are begging all of you to make sure that you pay up. You don't want to disengage anybody, because for example, the exams will be done purely based on those who have paid, and you will have a special access to the exam questions. All right. So please, I know times are hard that you can do. Last month or so, I saw some advertisement on phlebotomy course, and they were charging 1,500 for, and I looked at the content. I said, wow, the content is something that you can even take 2 hours to complete. And for phlebotomy, 1,500. I said, wow. Anyway, I'm not saying that 1,200 is cheap. No, I'm not saying, but I'm saying that if somebody can go and pay 1,500 for what do you call it, phlebotomy, then paying 1,200 for andrology, seminology, I'm not sure it is too much. I'm also not saying that the money is too low, no, but I'm saying that if I compare this one to what I saw for the phlebotomy, then I'm not sure that this is too much. Okay, so the quantification. So briefly, but I'm sure you know how to do serial doubling dilutions. What we call serial doubling dilutions. When you say something is serial means that something has happened here, something has also happened somewhere there, but there seems to be a link between what has happened here and what has happened there. Some of you may remember what happened in is it 2020 when we were during the time of President Kufuor, during the election period of Kufuor, they discussed something called serial killing of women. Serial killing of women, when women were being killed across the country, left and right. And they were not occurring at the same place. Let's say somebody may have been killed in, let's say, Tema. Somebody will also have been killed in, let's say, Kumasi here, Aija. Somebody may also have been killed in, let's say, Bolga. But if you look at the circumstances of the killing, then they could connect that it appeared to be the same circumstance within which they were. There seemed to be a link. Okay, and that's why, because you can if somebody dies in Kumasi, somebody dies in Tema, somebody dies under different circumstances, you can't say serial killing. Where there seems to be a connection between the event that happened in Kumasi, the event that happened in Tema, the event that happened in Bolga, there seems to be a connection. I mean, the operations seem to have a certain semblance. Then there is, they say there's serial something. So when you say you are doing serial dilutions, you can do by dilution. I can do some dilution here. I can do some dilution there. I can do some dilution somewhere here. If there's no link, you can't call it serial dilution. Okay, I'm sure dilution is where you have the sample and you're adding a diluent. And normal diluents are usually saline or even water. Okay, the still water, of course. When you are adding a fluid into another one, just to reduce the concentration of the parameters in it, that's called dilution. Okay, right. So if you are making a dilution, so that the dilution that I made here, the second dilution that I'm making has a link, then becomes serial dilution. Okay, right. So let me see if I can. Sorry, with your permission, I'm bringing down this the presentation here, and I'm going to see if I can draw something. I can create something that I can draw on. I don't know. Can anybody help me? Let me see. I'm coming. I want to see if I can create a platform where I can do some drawings. Let me see. Please stay on. I'm just trying to see if I can do some artwork. Unfortunately, I'm not too much IT inclined. Let me see if I can try something. Hi. What's happening? Okay. Let me see. I'm still struggling. Okay. Uh, can I get some help from somewhere where I can get something like a board? Which I can. Okay. Right. I think I'm making progress. Okay, so good. I think I'm making progress. How can I do artwork? Hmm. This one is not good for me. How can I draw? Okay. Wow. Anybody help me out to? I want to be drawing. Okay, this is drawing.
You have to click on the pen to use to draw. Hello, Grandpa. You clicked on the eraser.
No.
Grandpa.
How can I draw? Can somebody help me? How I can draw? I'm just trying to manage something. All right. Okay, let me see if I can get some help here. With the pen. Okay. So click the pen. There's no pen here. I can't see any pen here. Eraser, undo. I can't see any pen there. Annotate. No control. Apps. Okay. I think I can hear you people. I don't know, but okay. So just I'm trying to manage something here. So assuming these are tubes. Okay. So this is the one. Let me see. So it is tube one. This is tube two. Yes. This one has gone back. Hey, I tell you, nothing is working for me. Okay, so let me see. Let me see. Okay. So all right. So let's manage something. Unfortunately, it's difficult for me, but assuming these are tubes, all right. And uh, in this first tube, uh, in this first tube, okay, in all these tubes, okay, I put 1 ml of saline in all of them. Okay, I put 1 ml of saline in all of them. 1 ml here, 1 ml here, 1 ml here, 1 ml here of saline in all of them. Okay. Then I have my sample sitting somewhere. Then I come and add 1 ml of, remember that all the tubes have 1 ml of saline of the 1 ml here, 1 ml here, 1 ml here, 1 ml here. And then in the first tube, I come and add 1 ml of my samples sitting somewhere. My sample is sorry, I went off. I went off. Sorry. Let me see if I can restart. Okay. The unfortunate thing is that I am not seeing the pen that I'm supposed to see on my listen. I'm seeing a mouse, seeing test, seeing draw, seeing stamp, seeing spot, seeing the format, undo. I don't know. This something become difficult for me. Yes, sir. All right, thank you. I have some behind the scene tutorials from my boss. So let's see how it works. So you now have a tube. Let's say this is a tube. And then you have another tube. And you have another tube. And you have another tube. You have another tube. So these are all test tubes. And before here, you have a tube with your sample in it. Let's say your blood, your plasma in it. All right. Now, then these tubes, this one, tube 1, tube 2, tube 3, tube 4, tube 5. It could be more, but for now, let's take this one. Then I bring in 1 ml of saline here in all of them. I put 1 ml of saline in all of them. 1 ml of saline in all of them. I'm making 1 ml just for simplicity's sake. It could be any volume. So 1 ml of saline in each of them. That's saline. Then I come and pick 1 ml of the plasma here. And come and, sorry. I don't know how. Okay, so in order not to restore the whole thing, I come and add 1 ml of the plasma here. Now this is my plasma. Okay. Good. This is my plasma. So I come and add 1 ml of plasma here. When I add 1 ml of plasma here, now my total volume here is now 2 mL. Out of the 2 mL here, how much of the sample is in it? It is 1 ml in the 2. Okay, so because there was already 1 ml here, and I brought 1 ml of sample here to this. So my total volume here is now 2 mL. Out of the 2 mL, there's 1 part of the sample in the 2. So you call this 1 in 2. Okay, so this is a 1 in 2 dilution. All right. Now, I already have 1 ml of saline here. Okay, then I come here, pick 1 ml of this suspension here and bring it to this side. Okay, when I bring it to this side, I'm also creating another 2 mL here. And from these 2 mL, it is also 1 part of the sample. So now this is my sample, my new sample. Okay, I brought 1 ml to this one, and I've made another 1 in 2 because we said that there's already 1 ml here, and I brought another 1 ml. So I've made 2 mL. Out of 2 ml, there's 1 ml of this into this one. So this 1 in 2, okay? But this 1 in 2 is coming from an already 1 in 2. So we say this 1 in 2 of another 1 in 2. I hope you're following me. So this 1 in 2, this 1 in 2 is coming from a 1 in 2. So this is a 1 in 2 of a previous 1 in 2. This where the element of serial comes in. Serial is where one operation can be linked to a previous operation. Okay, so this thing that I'm doing here can be linked to this one. So there's a link. So now I could have prepared my another 1 in 2 here. But now I've prepared 1 in 2 from a previous 1 in 2. So this is 1 in 2 of 1 in 2. I know 1 in 2. So off means time. So 1 in 2 times another 1 in 2. And so therefore, on the whole, this becomes 1 over 4. This is 1 over 4. Okay. So therefore, my dilution here is 1 in 4. Okay. So my dilution here is 1 in 4. So now you can understand that this is 1 in 4. Then I come here again, take 1 ml from here and bring it to the next one. When I do this one, I'm also preparing another 1 in 2 from here because it is a 1 ml here and I've added another 1 ml. So effectively, I've done a 1 in 2. But this 1 in 2 is also coming from this one, which is also now has been calculated to become 1 in 4. So this 1 in 2, 1 in 2 of 1 in 2 of what? 1 in 4. So this one will also now become 1 in 8. 1 in 8. Good. So therefore, now my third dilution here has become 1 in 8. Okay. Then I move on. From here, I take another 1 ml, bring it here. And then I make another 1 in 2 here. Okay, I've made 1 in 2 here. So this becomes another 1 in 2 of a 1 in 8. So this becomes 1 in 16. Okay. And then, of course, this one becomes 1 in 32. So 1 in 32. So you see that I started 1 in 2, that become 1 in 4, 1 in 8, 1 in 16, 1 in 32. So now we are going to combine the terminologies. So you see that 1 in 2, 1 in 4, 1 in 8, 1 in 16 is you are doubling. Okay, so you are doubling. And as you are doubling, these are all dilutions. And then we said that when you make one dilution from a previous dilution, or the dilution that you make has a link with it, it's called serial. So it becomes serial doubling dilution. So when I have to prepare a serial doubling dilution, that's all. This all we talk about serial doubling dilution. Serial doubling dilution. We start from 1 in 2, then the next one becomes 1 in 4, 1 in 8, 1 in 16. So it shouldn't necessarily be 1 ml. You can decide to even say drops. If I put 10 drops of saline here, or 10 drops of saline. Because if I want to make 1 in 2, then the specimen that I should bring here should also be of the same volume as the previous one, as the diluent. So if I put in 10 ml here, 10 drops here, I should now also bring in 10 drops of the plasma. So in all, that will become 20 drops. Out of the 20 drops, how much of the sample is in it? Is the 10 in the 20? So 10 of the drops of the sample in the volume of the in the 20 drops. So 10 in the 20, when we work out, in is also division. 10 in 20 becomes 10 over 20. And when you work it out, becomes 1 over 2. So even though I took 10 drops and 10 drops, in effect, my dilution factor is 1 in 2. Okay, so that is how, let me see what is happening here. So somebody, how do I get initial 1 in 2? The initial 1 in 2 is from the sample and the diluent. I'm saying that you will have a diluent, and your diluent, usually when you're dealing with liquids, diluent will usually be saline, or it can even be the seawater. You don't want, you are going to dilute, okay, dilute. So you don't bring in something that has a parameter which is in the sample that you are going to work on. So you have serum. What can you add to increase the volume without necessarily increasing any parameter? So it can be either the seawater or saline. And normally you prefer to use normal saline. Now I'm saying that initially you decide how much of the diluent, your saline or your water is your diluent, the one that you are going to use dilute, either diluent or diluent, whichever way you want it. Those of us who went to LA, you want to call it diluent. I'm sure those of you who are abraforma, you want to call it diluent. All right, so Your diluent, you have to decide. If you decide to take just even 3 drops of my diluent, if you want to prepare 1 in 2, then my sample here, since I took 3 drops of my diluent here, then my sample should also be the same volume, which is also 3 drops. So if I add 3 drops of my sample to the 3 drops of my diluent, what is the total volume I've created here? The total volume I've created here is 6 drops. Then you ask yourself, out of the 6 drops, how much of the sample is in the 6 drops? It is the 3 drops in the 6 drops. So it becomes 3 in the 6. Okay, 3 in the 6. So if it's 3 in the 6, this 3 in means ratio. So 3 in 6 mathematically become 3 over 6. And 3 over 6, when you stack it out, you get 1 here, you get 2 here, it becomes 1 over 2. So my 1 over 2 is the same thing as 1 in 2. So that's how you get your initial diluent. Sorry, your initial dilution. If I decide to put 50 microliters here of my saline, then my sample here should also be 50 microliters. So in all, I get 100 microliters. How much of the sample is in the 100 microliters? It is 50. So it is 50 in the 100. If you work it out, you'll still come back to get 1 in 2. So that is how it is. I hope the point is clear. Right. So let me try to. Right. So that is how you can prepare. If I want to prepare 1 in 10 dilution as my initial dilution, I want to prepare 1 in 10. 1 in 10. If I want to prepare 1 in 10, then it means that my total volume should be 10. Okay. And my sample should be 1 in the 10. So then you have to work it out. How do I get this? Then it means that my diluent should be 9 parts. And my sample will be 1 part. If my diluent is 9 parts and my sample is 1 part, then I'll get 10 parts. Okay, I'll get 10 parts. Out of the 10 parts, how much of the sample is in it? It's 1. So that will give me a 1 in 10. So it is 1 part to 10. 1 in 10 means, sorry, 1 in 10 means 1 part of the sample in a total volume of 10. So the question is, how do I get a total volume of 10? To get a total volume of 10, I should still maintain my 1 part and now add 9 parts of my diluent to it. So my 1 part of the sample and 9 parts of the diluent will give me a total volume of 10 parts. Out of 10 parts, how much of the sample is in the 10 parts? It's 1. So that will give me a 1 in 10. So if I want to prepare 1 in 10, in actual fact, it is okay. My network is not stable. I've forgotten how I got the panel. Listen. Okay. So hello. I don't know how I can get this thing back. Okay, good. So, sorry. So if I want to prepare y in 10, then I can say that, okay, if it's y in 10, it means that my total volume should be 10. Not 10 mils, but okay, let's say y in 10. So my entire volume should be 10 of anything. So you say 10 parts. So if it's 10 parts, then my sample part will be 1 part in the total volume of 10 parts. So to get this one, then my diluent part should be 9 parts because I want a total volume of 10 parts. So my diluent volume should be 9 parts and my sample component should be 1 part. So if I get 1 part of my sample and 9 parts of my diluent, what total volume do I get? I get 10 parts. Out of the 10 parts, how much of the sample is in it? Is 1. Okay. So I decided to prepare y in 10. So y in 10 means 1 part of my sample in the total volume of 10 parts, not 10 mils, 10 parts. Good. So to get my 10 parts, I have a diluent of 9 parts, the sample part of one part. Then I can decide what part represents. The part, is it 1 mil? Is it 1 drop? Is it 1 gallon? Is it what? So you have to determine what parts you are dealing with. So if I decide, okay, I want my parts to be in drops, then I'll say that, okay, then I'll take 9 drops of my diluent, 9 drops of my diluent, 9 drops of the diluent, or in this case, 9 drops of what? Saline. Okay, then add 1 drop of my plasma. Okay, and I add 1 drop of my plasma. So how many drops do I have? Total, I have 10 drops. 10 drops of both the resin, the diluent, and then the sample, 10 drops. Out of the 10 drops, how much of the sample is in it? It is 1. So it becomes 1 in the 10. Okay. Now, if I don't want drops, and okay, even if I want the drops to be higher, that's okay. My 1 drop should now, my 1 part should be, let's say, 5 drops. If my 1 part is 5 drops, then what would be my what do you call it? If my 1 part is 5 drops, what would be my 9 parts? Yes, who can tell me? I'm going to prepare y in 10 dilution. I said that for my y in 10 dilution, I want 1 part of the sample and 9 parts of my diluent. So if I put all of them together, I'll get 10 parts. Good. I said that for my 1 part, I want it to be 5 drops. If my 1 part is 5 drops, what will be my 9 parts? Yes, please, response.
Drops.
My 1 part is 5 drops. So what will be my 9 parts?
45 drops.
1 part 45.
No, so my 9 parts is going to be 45 drops. That's good.
Yeah.
Frank, Phyllis, come again, please. So my 9 parts is going to be, because 1 part is 5 drops, then 9 parts is going to be 45 drops. So if this one is 45 drops, so if I say I'm going to do 1 in 10 dilution, 1 part of my sample and 9 parts of my diluent, and I didn't say one drop, I said 1 part. But I said that my 1 part, I want it to be 5 drops. Then my 9 parts is going to be 5 times this one. So that's going to be 45 drops. So in all, I'll get 50 drops. Okay. I get 50 drops. So the question is, how much of my sample is in the 50? It is 5. It's 5 in the 50. So it becomes 5 over 50. If I cancel it out, I'm going to get 1 over 10. So my 1 over 10 now becomes my 1 in 10 dilution. So it makes the same thing. If I decide to make my 1 part to, let's say, 50 microliters, then my 9 parts is going to be what? 450 microliters. Okay, so this is 50 microliters. Okay, 50 microliters. Then my 9 parts is going to be 9 times 50. So that's going to be 450 microliters. So in all, I'll get 450 microliters plus 50 microliters. So in all, I'm going to get 500 microliters. 500 microliters. Out of the 500 microliters, how much of the sample is in it? It's 50. 50 microliters. So it will be 50 over the 500. If you work it out, I'm going to get 1 over 10. And so I will still get my 1 in 10. So once you understand the principle, whichever way you want it, you get you get it. So now, for example, if you're doing VIDA testing, if you're doing VIDA testing, you realize that the significant titers for your O, for example, is 1 in 80. And your significant titers for the H is 1 in 160. So you'll be dealing with titers in 1 in 80, 1 in 160. From there, you get 320, 640, 1280, so forth and so on. So you have to be smart. How are you going to get that range of dilutions? So if, for example, you decide to do 1 in 2 dilution, 1 in 2 dilution, then you do 1 in 2, then the next one will be 1 in 4, 1 in 8, 1 in 16, 1 in 32, 1 in 64, 1 in 64 will give you 1 in 28, 1 in 256. Where are you going to get the 80? So I hope you are following the discussion. You are going to do VIDA testing. VIDA testing, you want to determine titers for salmonella. Titers for salmonella, you want them in, let's say, 1 in 40, 1 in 80, 1 in 160, 1 in 320, 1 in 640. If you decide to do 1 in 2, 1 in 4, 1 in 8, 1 in 60, 1 in 32, 64, where are you going to get the 40? Where are you going to get the 80? Where are you going to get the 160? So you have to work this out and say that, okay, then you do an initial 1 in 20. Okay, an initial 1 in 20 means that 1 part of the sample and 19 parts of the diluent. I hope by now you have understood the dynamics. If you want to do 1 in 20, it's 1 part of the sample and 19 parts of the diluent. So it is not 1 ml or 19 mils. If you decide to make it 1 ml and 19 mils, so be it. But you are going to get 20 mils. What are you going to use 20 mils for? Okay, so you can decide to make this 1 ml Okay, this 1 ml, we can make it 0.1 ml. Did I say 1 ml? This one part, we can make it 0.1 ml. Okay. If I make this one 0.1 ml, then this one becomes what? My 19 parts will become what? Yes. Answer, please. I'm going to do 1 in 20 dilution. 1 in 20 dilution means 1 part of my sample and 19 parts of the diluent. I decided to make my this in fantastic Syphilis. So that's 1.9 ml. So if this one is 0.1 ml, then it means that I'll take 1.9 ml of my saline. So I have 1.9 ml of saline and I have 0.1 ml. So this becomes 1.9 ml of my saline, and I add 0.1 ml of the sample to it. So what do I get? I get a total volume of 2 ml. So total volume of 2 ml, how much of a sample is in the 2? It is 0.1 in the 2 ml. That is 0.1 over 2. Okay, so if I have 0.1 over 2, then I have to make this a whole number. I have to multiply here by 10. If I multiply here by 10, I'm going to get 1. And I should multiply the denominator also by 10. I'm going to get what? 20. So I get 1 over 20, which is my 1 in 20. All right. So my first tube, I have to prepare 1.9 ml of the saline, and then come to add 0.1 ml of my plasma into this. I'm getting 1 in 20 dilution. Okay. Then the next subsequent ones, I'm going to do 1 in 2 dilution. Okay. 1 in 2 dilution means 1 part of the sample and 1 part of the diluent. And the 1 part can be anything, like I've said over and over again. Let's decide to make the 1 part even, let's say, anybody, give me something. We want to make our 1 part, let's say, 0.5 ml, 0.5 ml. Okay. If I decide to make my 1 part to be 0.5 ml, then I'll put 0.5 ml of the saline here. Okay. What will be my sample? My sample should also be 0.5 ml because it is, I'm going to make 1 in 2 dilution. 1 in 2 dilution means 1 part of the sample and 1 part of the diluent. I've made my diluent 0.5. So my sample should also be 0.5. So now this one here, which I prepared here, is going to serve as my sample. Then I'm going to take 0.5 ml and kind of bring it here. If I bring 0.5 ml here, what volume do I have here? I have 1 ml here because this is 0.5 of the diluent and another 0.5 from here to here. So I'm getting 1 ml. Out of the 1 ml, how much of my sample is in it? My sample is 0.5. Okay. My sample is 0.5 in the 1 ml. In the 1. When I multiply here, I'm going to get 5. When I multiply here, I'm going to get 10. Okay. And this one will give me 1 over 2. Okay. So it means that if I put 0.5 ml of my saline here, and I come to bring 0.5 ml of this suspension here to this one, I've prepared 1 in 2 here. This 1 in 2 is coming from a 1 in 20. And therefore, my dilution here is effectively 1 in 2 of 1 in 20. And that is going to give me 1 in 40. So this small thing that I prepared here is actually 1 in 40. Okay. I hope you are following it. So now I'll do another tube here and do another 1 in 2 here. Okay. Another 1 in 2 here will also be 0.5 ml of the diluent of the diluent, which is saline. And now I come to bring 1 in 0.5 ml from here too. Then it will give me another 1 ml here. My dilution here is going to be y in 2. It is this y in 2 is now coming from this part, which is now also y in 40. So now this becomes y in 80 because it is now y in 2 of a y in 40. So I'm going to get y in 80. The next step that I'll do is going to give me y in 160. So you see that I know that I'm dealing with what do you call it? Vida, Salmonella. And the significant titers here are in the range of 40, y in 80, y in 160, y in 20. So I have to be smart and know how to generate y in 40, y in 80. So you see that I'll do an initial y in 20. Okay, if I do an initial y in 20, subsequently I'll be doing y in 2, y in 2, y in 2, and y in 2, the first y in 2 that I'll do will be y in 2 of a y in 20. And that will give me y in 40. The second tube, I'm going to do another y in 2, but y in 2 of the y in 40. So that's going to give me y in 80. I'll do another tube, which is also y in 2, but that y in 2 is going to come from y in 80. So y in 160. Then I'll go ahead. So I can do and do and do and do and do. So it depends on your whatever you want. All right. For example, with the syphilis, titers are always in the range of y in 2, y in 4, y in 8, y in 16, y in 32, y in 60, that column. And so if that's the case, why do you have to go and do y in 20? It will be of no waste. So then, because I'm dealing with syphilis, and syphilis titers are in y in 2, y in 4, y in 8, I'll still straight away do my serial doubling dilutions, y in 2. Y in 2 means one part of my sample and one part. Remember, I don't use the word 1 ml. I say one part of my serum and one part of my diluent. That will give you 2 parts. After the 2 parts, the sample in it is 1. So it becomes y in the 2. Then you decide my 1 part and the 1 part. How should my 1 part be? Should my 1 part be 1 ml? Should it be 1 gallon? Should it be 10 drops? Should it be 2 drops? Okay. If let's say you're doing CSFs, or you are doing, as you go along, you will do semen analysis. Semen analysis, you normally would do y in 20 dilution. Y in 20 dilution, normally you take 19 drops of your diluting fluid. So you take 19 drops of diluting fluid. I take 1 drop of the semen and add it to 19 drops of the diluting fluid. So what total volume do I have? So in all, I have 20 drops, 19 drops of the diluting fluid and 1 drop of the semen. So in effect, I have 20 drops. Out of the 20 drops, how much of the sample is in it? Just 1 drop. So it is 1 in the 20. Then you take it from there. So please, this is, they are easy to work it out. So coming back to the quantification. So with the quantification, you are saying that I want to clear my this. Okay, thank you. Nice. I can clear all drawings. My drawings will not clear. Why is the clear all drawings and it's not clear? Wow. Okay. Let me see. What is happening? Now this is not clearing. There's a problem with my. So let's come back to the issue of the quantification. So to do your quantification, you must be able to do dilutions. serial dilutions. And the serial dilution will be determined by, you yourself should know the diagnostic titer of the parameter that you are dealing with. You are dealing with, in this particular case, syphilis. What is the diagnostic titers? Or what are the titers in syphilis? They are in the range of 1 in 2, 1 in 4, 1 in 8, 1 in 16, 132, 164, 1 in 128, and so forth and so on. So that is the range. There are certain titers that are in the range of 1 in 100, 1 in 200, 1 in 500. So you must first and foremost know the diagnostic range of titers of the particular parameter that you are dealing with. So that's why we brought in the VIDA. In VIDA, it is not 1 in 2, 1 in 4, 1 in 8. It's in 1 in 40, 1 in 80, 1 in 60, 1 in 60. So you must work in that to achieve that one. With the syphilis, it's 1 in 2, 1 in 4, 1 in 8. So you must work in. And now I'm sure that everybody can do 1 in 2, 1 in 4, 1 in 8, 1 in 16, 1 in 32. Okay, right. Then the question is, what is the titer? The titer is the highest. Remember that. And still, I'm not able to clear my listening. I'm still not able to clear my space. All right, so you are going to, the quantification is all about titer determination. What is the titer? Titer is the highest dilution to give you a positive result. That's the definition, the highest dilution. So if I do 1 in 2, 1 in 4, 1 in 8, 1 in 16, 1 in 32, 1 in 64. And I hope that you will now be able to do the 1 in 2, 1 in 4, 1 in 8, 1 in 16, 1 in 32. You'll be able to do that. Okay. Then you will have done your neat sample, the raw sample. You will do the test. Okay. And if it's RPR, you take 50 microarray tests here. Okay. Or a drop of the serum for this, for that matter, plasma, onto your card, the test card, the RPR card. Okay, as you try to do this, a circle on it. So put 1 drop of your sample itself here, and then you spread it within a second. And then you take the RPR reagent, as we said. Then you add a drop here, and then you mix. Okay, and then you rock. You'll be rocking for about 5 to 8 minutes. Now there are clumps or aggregates. It means that the test is positive. Okay, so from the neat sample, it is positive. Then you come and take the 1 in 2 dilution that you have prepared here, as though it is your sample. Okay, then you also take the 1 drop here and repeat the test. You do the same thing. You take the 1 drop here. Now the 1 in 2 dilution here is 7 as your sample. So you put 1 drop here. You spread it out, and then you take 1 drop of the RPI reagent, drop it, and then mix it. The same process, the same thing. You did the test too, it was positive. This one, the 1 in 2. You use the 1 in 2 as your sample, and then you did the test, so positive. You move to the next one. This one is 1 in 4. Then you did the test the same way, it is also positive. The 1 in 4 too is positive. Okay. Then you come to do the 1 in 8. You take the 1 in 8, you also repeat a sample, and now here it is negative. If this one is negative, then by definition, your titer is 1 in 4. Remember, we said you do 1 in 4, 1 in 8, 1 in 16, 1 in 32. As you move up here, the dilution is increasing. I hope you know that. As you move 1 in 2, 1 in 4, 1 in 8, 1 in 16, 1 in 32, 1 in 64, you are increasing the dilution. Okay, you are increasing the dilution. As you are increasing the dilution, the quantity of antibodies is also reducing. Okay, you are increasing the dilution, and then the concentration, the actual amount of antibodies in it is also reducing. I hope that point is clear. Good. So you did the test from the raw sample, it is negative. Sorry, it is positive. You did a test from the 1 in 2 dilution, it is positive. You did a test from the 1 in 4 dilution, it is positive. You did a test from the 1 in 8 dilution, it is negative. Then by definition of titer is the highest dilution. Remember, you are moving here, the dilution is increasing. So this one is higher than this, this one is higher than this, this one is higher than this. So the higher dilution which gave you a positive result is the 1 in 4. So in effect, your titer is 1 in 4. Assuming that you took sample from the 1 in 8 dilution, you did the test, it was positive. You come to do the 1 in 30, the next one in 1 in 16 is also positive. You come and do the 1 in 32, then that one too is negative. Then in this case, what to be your titer? Yes. What to be your titer? Yes, please. And I'm hoping that you are following it. What is your titer in the latest scenario? Or are you sleeping? It's almost 9. Titer in the latest scenario. I hope you are all not asleep. Okay. Okay. So the scenario again. So you are saying that you are prepared 1 in 2 dilution, 1 in 4 dilution, 1 in 8 dilution, 1 in 6 dilution, 1 in 10 dilution. You are prepared, and I'm sure this is what we call the serial doubling dilution. And I'm sure now you can all do that. Okay. Now you do the tests. You take each of them as though they are the samples. Okay. So you did the lead sample, the undiluted sample. You did a test. It was positive. Of course, if you do the test and it is negative, there will be no need to do dilution. Okay. Unless you are dealing with proson effect. Remember, in proson effect, you are saying that the mixed sample can give you a negative report. But if you are suspecting that it could be a proson is resolved through dilution. So it means, okay, even though the mixed sample gave you a negative report, let me do dilution. So you rather do a 1 in 2 dilution and then the test becomes positive. Then you said, but the mixed sample gave me a negative report. How come that when I've diluted it, it's not giving me a positive report? Then that will explain the principle or the phenomena of proson. So in proson, the mixed sample should have been negative, sorry, should have been positive. Rather, it gave you a negative report. But when you diluted, it has given you a positive report. Then that is proson, a typical example of proson. So that's just one side. But here we are talking about the mixed sample gave you a positive result. Your 1 in 2 sample gave you a positive report. 1 in 4 gave you a positive report. 1 in 8 gives you a positive report. 1 in 16 gives you a positive report. 1 in 32 gives you a negative report. What is your titer?
1 in 16.
Fantastic, 1 in 16. So the higher dilution to give you a positive result, that's your titer. Now, let me show you a trick. Very good, 1 in 16. So you are all getting it. A trick which you can use to actually minimize the wastage. If you don't take care, if you have a sample whose titer is, let's say, 1 in 256, 1 in 256, if that sample has a titer of 1 in 256, then you know what you're going to do. Know that this 1 in 16, 32, 64, next one will be 128, the 156. And it means that we are going to do the test. Let me see how many times. This is 1 in 2, 1 in 16, sorry, 1 in 2, 1 in 4, 1 in 8, 1 in 16, 1 in 32, 1 in 64. This one is 1 in 64. The next one will be what? 1 in 128. $250. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So one case, you're doing the test 10 times. And meanwhile, you can't go back and tell the patient that, oh, I did your test 8 times or 10 times before I got your report. Therefore, I'm going to calculate each one for you to go and pay. You don't do that. The doctor has requested for quantification. If the cost for quantification is 20 cedis, so be it. If you do 10 times or 100 times before you get your quantification results, the patient cannot be asked to come and pay for the number of times that you did the test. So one of the ways by which you can minimize is this. Remember, we said that if you do your test, you can assess the degree of the flocculation. Remember, I'm not using the agglutination. I'm using flocculation. You can make a judgment of the degree of flocculation. Remember, we said that some can be strongly reactive, some can be reactive, some can be weakly reactive. So if, let's say, I did 1 in 8, okay, I did the 1 in 8. Sorry, okay, you did the initial one, and it was strongly reactive. It means that I know that I'm not going to do 1 in 2, because I know that by means 1 in 2 is going to be positive. I can look at the extent of the flocculation, and then I can make about 2 jumps that, oh, this one is strongly reactive. So I can go straight to, let's say, 1 in 8. If I do 1 in 8, and it is also reactive, I can still make another jump. And let's say come to 1 in, let's say, 64. If I do 1 in 64, and it is weakly reactive, I will not move forward. Remember, when I did 1 in 64, it was weakly reactive. What it means is that the next one in the next one, which is 1 in 28, because this one is weakly reactive, this one is likely to be negative. And if this one is like this one is negative, what will be my titer? Yes. What will be my titer?
The one is 64.
Yes, the one is 64. So thank you very much. No, I said that you wouldn't do the 1 in 28. You did the 1 in 64, and you saw that it was weakly reactive. If it was weakly reactive, if you did the 1 in 28, it will give you a negative report. And then once it becomes negative, it means that you come back and take the 1 in 64 as your titer. So what I'm saying is that if you don't use your judgment very well, one case can finish all your reagents. One case can finish all your reagents. So you have to be very, very careful and then make a determination based on the observation of the aggregates or the flocculations that you're seeing. So if I did 1 in 4 dilution and my aggregations were weak reactive, I'll just end there, because I know that if I do the 1 in 8, I'm going to get a negative report, and my titer will be 1 in 4. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a little to what I can say. Yes, so exactly, right. So we are looking at the highest dilution that gives you a positive result, the highest. And remember, the highest means as you are increasing the dilution. All right, 1 in 2, 1 in 4. 1 in 4 is higher than 1 in 2. 1 in 16 is higher than 1 in 4, so forth and so on. So the higher dilution to give you a positive result is what you're looking for, and that's your titer. So what I'm saying is that if the case is one with a very high titer, if you don't take care, that one singular case can finish all your reagents. So it's up to you to be very careful. You look at the aggregates and they make a determination. Oh, this I did the 1 in 2. It is almost weakly reactive. I'm not going to do the 1 in 4 because if I do the 1 in 4, it is going to give you a negative report. So I write my titer as 1 in 2. As simple as that. As simple as that. If you did your 1 in 2 and saw that it was strongly reactive, you can jump 1 in 4. You can even jump 1 in 8. You can go and do 1 in 16 and see the aggregate there. If the aggregate there is like not too strong and not too thin, you can also make one jump B and then. So that is the way to be able to save your reagents. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. It's past 9, and I think we have done a lot. I know that all of you are tired. In your 6, and for more than 3 hours, you have been on the floor. Thank you. I don't take it for granted, and I also know that it's not been pain. You may have learned something a little to what you know already.
A lot.
You are going to practice it. This thing is not just
much,
for learning. You are going to actually practice it. All right. And
Thank
like
you
I
very
said,
much,
it is not just for the syphilis. It can be in any infectious disease condition. For every infectious disease condition, you should know the significant titers and then work along that line. All right. For example, if you have brucellosis, for example, they have titers of 1 in, let's say, 100 and 1 in 200. Okay, so if it is 1 in 100, 1 in 200, what can you do? It means that you can start your dilution from 1 in 10. If you do 1 in 10, then from 1 in 10, if you begin to do 1 in 2 dilution from there, you are going to get 1 in 20, 1 in 40, and we are also going to miss it. So you do 1 in 10, at least initial 1 in 10 dilution, and do a second 1 in 10 dilution. Okay, so you do a first 1 in 10 dilution, and then you do a second 1 in 10 dilution. So the second 1 in 10 dilution, what will be the dilution there? Yes, tell me, and then I will know that you understand it. You did a first 1 in 10 dilution, and then you did a second 1 in 10 dilution from the first 1 in 10. What is your dilution in the second tube?
That would be 100.
That 100, that's all. Because you know that the infectious agent that you're dealing with, its significant titers are in the hundreds. So it means that you cannot do 1 in 2 dilutions. You cannot also do 1 in 20 dilutions. You have to do 1 in 100 dilution. And to do 1 in 100 dilution, if you want to do 100 dilution straight away, it will be very cumbersome. Even if you want it in drops, you have to count 99 drops and 1 drop. And before you could say Jack, the counting can even mess up. But if you want to do 1 in 10 dilution, it's just about 9 drops and 1 drop. That will give you 10 drops. So that's the first 1 in 10 dilution. And then the second tube, you do 9 drops of the diluent, and then come and pick 1 drop from your first tube to the second tube. That gives you under 1 in 10. But this 1 in 10 is coming from the previous 1 in 10. That gives you 1 in 100. So you should be, once you understand the dynamics, whichever disease condition that you are dealing with serologically, you should be able to manage it. And once again, I want to thank you for your time. We meet next week. God willing. Hey, my Vera, still on the Vera. Vera, I want to hear your voice. Hello, Vera. Are you asleep? I want to see my people out there. Vera, are you asleep? Hello, Vera. I'm sure Vera has dozed off. Vera, my beautiful girl.
Hello, Grandpa.
You were sleeping, eh?
No, I wasn't sleeping. I just went out and then I I heard you were calling me, so I just came back. Clearly, from my voice, you can know I haven't slept at all. I heard
Okay,
everything.
you haven't slept.
The one in 10 and the one in 10.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay, that's all right. That's all right. You
all
have
right,
proved me wrong.
Grandpa. I
You have
never
proved me
miss
wrong.
your lessons. I
You have
never
proved
do.
me wrong. And my daughter Hannah, let me hear your voice, Hannah. Miss biomedical scientist, global
Yes,
biomedical
Grandpa.
scientist, Hannah. You are not sleeping there.
No, please, I'm here.
Okay, all right. Thank God. All right. I want to thank all of you for your time. I know that it's been a long day. Very, very sorry.
We also appreciate
Overstretching you.
everything, Grandpa.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Nice.
Bless you.